Every guy who's ever walked into the gym looking to build their physique always wants a big chest, big arms and six-pack abs. And the first exercise they're going to walk to when you get into the gym is the barbell bench press because it's the GOAT of all exercises. Or is it? What if I was to tell you that barbell bench press and your second favourite chest exercise aren't the best exercises for building your chest? And this is especially true if you're somebody who really struggles to target and feel their chest working while they're training it. But I do have good news. I've worked with a ton of guys who really struggle to grow their chest. I was actually one of the guys myself, and I've found the 3 best exercises to grow your chest and make you really feel it the day after your session, and that's how you know it's going to be growing. So let's go get into it and start with why barbell bench press and your second favourite chest exercise are terrible for growing your chest right now. Now don't get me wrong, barbell bench press is a really good movement, but it's best for showing your overall strength and power across your pushing muscles on your body. But when it comes to developing really good pecs, it's actually not the best for a couple of reasons. So number one is you're going to be using both hands at the same time on the bar. And what this can do is unevenly distribute the force through the bar. So you could be pushing harder with your right and not as much with your left. And what's going to happen is that one side that's working harder is going to get way more developed than the side that's not pushing as much. Next up, we're going to have the range of motion you can get with the barbell bench press. So your chest's job is to actually bring your elbow across your body. And when you're pushing with the bar, the elbows can only come in so far, so you're limiting the range of motion in which the chest can actually work coming up the way. And also, as the bar is going to come down and touch your chest, you can only get so deep without the bar actually physically stopping you. And the last reason why I don't love barbell bench press for growing your chest is the overall chest activation you're going to get with it. So this is a really good movement for pushing a weight from A to B in that pushing plane. However, the overall chest activation could be argued that it's maybe going more force for your shoulders or your triceps, depending on different parts of the movements. And we want to be really trying to make our chest do all the work here to make sure that's growing the best we possibly can. Next up, your second favourite chest exercise, which is going to be dumbbell incline bench press or incline bench pressing in general. Now me personally, when I first started the gym, I watched a guy called Ziz, and he basically spoke about how you always want to try and target the upper part of your chest, so it's going to give you a more square shape with that. And a lot of people carry this into their training because they think that is what's going to give them the best looking chest possible. However, the guys that are really struggling to grow their chest are focusing on the wrong thing. They're trying to build a really good upper chest when they need to focus on building just pecs in general. And incline bench pressing is not going to be the best exercise for this. So worry about developing the full bulkier pec, which is actually the kind of lower half of your pec first, before you think about trying to get that really aesthetic shape. And just with this, there's also an argument from a guy called Doug Brignoli. He's got a video on YouTube really explaining this about how basically the incline pressing movement that most people do actually brings more shoulder involvement into this. Now this is something that is kind of, I don't know the word, like it's not really fully backed by the vast majority of the bodybuilding community. However, I did watch the video and it made a lot of sense to me. He basically explains about how when you're doing an incline press, the motion your muscles are working in actually targets more of your shoulders. And me personally, I have noticed whenever I'm doing incline pressing, I do feel a lot more in my shoulders rather than my upper chest. And your upper chest basically works while you're doing flat pressing anyway due to the anatomy of your body. So that's another one that you could go and argue, but I would just recommend focusing on flat pressing or even decline pressing when you're trying to develop your chest. Now, let's get to the biggest issue that somebody like you who's struggling to grow their chest is going to be facing. And what that is basically your shoulder positioning. So I don't know if this is a genetic thing or if this is to do with your overall posture, but posture definitely plays a big part into it. So the reason you can't feel your chest working is because you're basically not keeping your shoulders back when you're doing your pressing movements or your fly movements. So what you need to really work on is being able to like roll the shoulders back and keep them in a kind of back position as you're pressing. You don't need to keep them pinned right back while you're pressing and really limit your range, but it's more about kind of keeping your chest elevated through the movements. And that's going to be something you're going to see me talk about a lot in these next 3 exercises. But just as a general rule of thumb, think to yourself, create a big arch at your low back, keep your chest really high as you're pressing, and maintain that nice upright posture as you're pressing. Because again, if your shoulders are rolling forward, all the work's going to go into your deltoids, and that's why your chest is not growing. So let's go into the 3 best exercises to develop your chest. And again, I've used these with all my guys who really struggle to develop their chest, and it helps them come on leaps and bounds. And there's a few form tweaks in here as well, which we'll go into. So let's start with exercise number 1, which is dumbbell bench press. And in my opinion, this is one of the best movements for growing your chest. I would actually recommend people do dumbbell pressing over barbell pressing because you get that kind of full range of motion and each arm is working individually. So you can come all the way down, stretch your muscle right out and feel a big stretch in your chest as you're coming down. And then obviously all the way up, you're getting to come in that little bit more with the dumbbells, therefore activating your chest that bit more as well. Plus, with each arm getting to work individually, your pecs are going to develop individually as well as your other pressing muscles too. You're not going to have that issue that comes with a bar where one side could be doing all the work and you end up with that really awkward one big size physique. Have you seen that guy on TikTok who only trains like his left side? That's hilarious, but that's how you end up if you do too much barbell pressing. Another thing I really like about dumbbells compared to the barbell is also how you can kind of flare out your elbows a bit more with the dumbbells. And what I've personally found is when I'm doing a chest movement, if my elbows are wider, I feel a better stretch across my chest and I get much better chest activation as I'm pressing in. Whereas with the barbell, you kind of need to keep your elbows tucked a bit more. Your chest will still be working, but I just feel it works a lot better if you're going much wider with your dumbbells. So let's basically run over the form with this. So first things first, you're going to basically lie back and get the dumbbells up. From there, what I'm going to tell you to do is let your shoulders drop back and keep your chest up nice and high. Then we're going to create a big arch at your low back, lifting your hips off the bench to start with to really increase that arch. Once you've got that arch, let your hips come down while maintaining that arch there as well. And you should have a gap kind of under your back where your hand could basically slide under. Now, from that position, you're going to come down and you're going to take your elbows nice and wide. And as you're doing that nice and wide, you're going to think about trying to keep your wrist stacked above your elbow while you're pressing. And what this is going to do is put the maximum amount of tension onto your chest. Come down to the very bottom of the rep until you feel a stretch across your chest and literally pause there for a second and just literally feel that little stretch so you're aware of how it's going. And then when you're pressing up, what I want you to think about doing is starting the motion steady so we don't explode up. What you want to do is you want to think about gradually bringing your elbows in towards the centre because again, your chest is going to be moving your upper arm, which is therefore kind of controlling where your elbow is going to go. So if you think about that motion as you're pressing, you're going to feel a lot more chest activation during that. And then obviously this just goes with every exercise. I'm not going to repeat it with them all. Like 2-3 second negative, little pause at the bottom, and then steadily coming back in. Again, if you push in too fast, what's going to happen is you're going to move the load off your muscle and onto the connective tissue, which we do not want. Next up, we have exercise number 2, which is machine chest fly. Now, the reason we're going machine is because it's fixed path. And what this is going to allow you to do is focus solely on your chest doing the work. If we do like a dumbbell variation or a cable variation, there's a sort of balancing feature brought into the movement as well. And what that's going to basically do is can take your focus off your chest. So with a fixed path machine, you can focus on just your chest doing all the work. Now, obviously, a chest fly is going to isolate your chest as well if the form is done correctly. So let's just run over the form first of all. So let's start with the position again. So you basically treat this like you're going to be doing your dumbbell bench press as well. So you start by sitting back, getting your shoulders back, lifting your chest up nice and high, and I actually create that arch in my low back as well. Then we're going to get our hands on the handles, and you're going to basically put your hands out as straight as you possibly can, right? Because with your arms being as straight as possible, that's going to give you the best possible contraction in the middle because your elbows are as close as you can get them at the very top. Then from there, when we're coming back, what we're going to do is we're going to allow this slight bend at our elbows, and we're going to really squeeze the handles, keeping our arms locked in position, keeping the chest high, and we're going to open this up all the way back nice and steady, as far as we can go until we feel a stretch across the chest, but you want to keep it under control through the full way. I go to my elbows are just past my body. From there, we're going to make sure the chest is held high. We do pause at the bottom for a little second. Then we're going to drive into the centre. And as we're bringing it into the centre, I actually try and straighten out my arm to the best I can to get a really big squeeze in my chest as well. From there, coming back nice and slow as usual, keeping your chest nice and high, and then just repeating that through the movement. It is really simple once you start to understand how your chest is working. Again, it's all about bringing that elbow into the centre. So if you can forget about bringing your hands into the centre and think more about driving the elbows into the centre, you're going to feel a lot more in your chest. And obviously just with that, you want to avoid this kind of curled armed variation where you're coming in like this because your chest, one, isn't getting a full range of motion, but your shoulders are actually taking over most of the work and even your biceps as well. Change up your form on this and I guarantee you feel your chest a lot more on your machine chest fly. And then chest exercise number 3, which is the goated chest exercise in my opinion, and that is going to be a seated cable chest press. Now the reason I think this is a goated chest movement is because you kind of get all the benefits of the fly and the dumbbell bench press put into one. So you're basically doing a dumbbell bench press movement, but because you have the cables, you've actually got just as much tension at the top as you do at the bottom. Whereas on the dumbbells, you've noticed yourself, it's quite easy to hold the dumbbells at the top. It's really hard to hold them at the bottom. So this is going to basically help develop more of your inner chest as well. Now, I'm not somebody that thinks you can isolate like an inner part of your chest with exercises, but when you're doing the movement, you'll notice yourself that your inner chest is more contracted because you've got that end range of motion with a lot of tension on it. Now, the reason we do this on a bench rather than standing is because it's going to basically help us from preventing cheating in the movement. If you ever look at anybody when they're doing any like cable chest press or cable fly movements, you'll notice they're doing a lot of stuff with their body. Like they're leaning really far forward, put a lot of body weight into the back of the end of the movement. And it's basically taking all the work off the chest, which is something we want to avoid completely. You want to make sure your chest is doing like as much of this work as possible to make sure that's getting all the activation, and therefore it's going to get all the development from the movement as well. So we're going to set the bench up, and then we're actually going to put it at a slight decline because, as I explained earlier, the vast majority of your pec muscle is like kind of under shoulder positioning. So if we can focus on building up that main bulk down there, you're going to get a lot of chest development as well. Now, just with this, let's run over the form because I'm talking about kind of aiming for that bottom bulk of your chest, but again, your full chest is going to develop from this. So we're going to basically set up the bench, and then we're going to set up the cables at roughly about shoulder height. So then when we are coming back, we're keeping our elbows nice and wide on this, like a fly, and you're going to basically feel a big stretch right across your chest as your upper chest, as you're doing this as well. And then we're basically just bringing it in to the centre. And it's the same idea again. We're just basically thinking about pressing our elbows into the centre. So instead of when a dumbbell bench press getting done, you're kind of pushing forward, we're pushing up and into the centre. And wait till you feel your chest really squeeze on this. It's honestly such an amazing exercise. I highly recommend it, especially if you're somebody who's struggling to get your chest to grow. So there you have it. Dumbbell bench press, machine chest fly, and cable seated chest press. These are the 3 best movements to go and develop your chest, to really light it up and to get it to grow. What I recommend you do is add these 3 into your next chest day workout and see how your chest feels the next day, and I guarantee you'll be feeling it more than ever. You'll have a great pump in the gym and you'll start to see your chest then go and develop. And then you can thank me later for that one. Now, if you'd like more advice on how to go build up your physique for free, check out the first link in my bio. Thanks for watching.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.